Hi, my name is Brendan Mason, and my discussion is going to be about fake news. Um, we learned about this in 5-1. The definition of fake news is a fabricated story that has no verified facts to it. So it's basically just a false story that's not true. And the intentions behind fake news or to make false claims and mislead the public. Um, in the um, article we were looking at, it says 9 of 10 people have come across fake news, which is a very significant number. And it goes to show you how much fake news is really out there. Um, when we look at the question provided in the lecture of why do people create fake news, it can be various reasons, but some of them include to scare people, to push an agenda, to make money, to make fame, and to be funny. Um, all of these are contributions to fake news. Um, in the first video in the lecture we looked at, um, it talks about this individual who is making false claims. Um, and the reason he continued to do this is because he was making good money compared to the rest of his country. He was being being very successful just by making false election videos um, and just spreading fake news. And as his page was growing, he continued to make money, um, and that's the reason he was trying to do this. Um, we learned that big companies such as Google are now partnering with other companies such as Snopes for fact checking. Um, they just basically try to catch this false information and flag it before it gets so big that um, large amounts of people actually start to believe um, what they are hearing, um, whether that's from a false website or um, we see a lot in social media as well. Um, and this brings me to my next question that was provided in the lecture. It says, why do people consume fake news? Again, there's various reasons of why people consume fake news. A lot of times people don't even realize it. Many fake news sites imitate real news sites. So they'll have their handle for their website is similar to an actual news source that has credibility. Um, Another reason is since we have phones and the internet right in our hands, people tend to quickly skim sites without digging into the site and doing research. Um, so this is a big factor in why people do consume fake news. Fake news is also promoted very easily. Someone can just put a picture, put a big headline, and submit this to social media, and um, whatever audience it might reach, someone will quickly look at it and believe it and think that this is an actual thing. And yeah, social media is, as talked about in the lecture, is probably the easiest way to consume fake news. Again, as I mentioned before, people are just scrolling through quickly. If they come across something, they're not always going to dig into it and research it. They may just believe it right away. Um, and another question that was provided in the lecture says, why is fake news more prevalent on social media? I kind of talked about it previously in the last question, but a lot of it has to do with an exciting headlines. People that are creating this fake news will just put something out there, absurd headline to catch the reader's eye, and a lot of times it does work. Um, and Through the lecture, I also learned about on Facebook when this happens, people put an exciting headline and more people like and share it just because it's so outrageous and people can't believe it. So they want to share it and like it. The user engagement on this post makes it more likely for another individual to see it because of the algorithms. Um, and this can also be more profitable for Facebook because as they're getting more clicks, more reshares and whatnot, they're making more money. And as explained in the lecture, algorithms have a tougher time distinguishing truth and lies than a typical writer would. Um, and this goes pretty far because it's not a person sitting behind the desk regulating this information. It's an algorithm, so they might not always be accurate because they're not a human being. Um, yeah. Now I'm going to show a video. It's a TED Talk, and it relates to fake news.
Fake news. Lots of things probably come to mind when you hear the words fake news. But what you may not realize is that fake news is your fault. And I'm not talking about news that you just don't like. I'm talking about news that isn't real. I've worked in the media industry for more than 10 years. It's fun and it's exciting because it's always changing, but I've also seen the dangers of it. When I was a reporter in Fort Myers, I worked with Haley Hines. Now she's an anchor in Tampa. And one day she was at work and she was being bombarded with notifications on her cell phone. People were saying some pretty hurtful things. She was even getting death threats and she had no idea why. So she put her investigative journalism skills to work. And she found out that all of that hate online stemmed from one tweet, and it came from a stranger across the country. Earlier in the day, a video started going viral, and it was of a blonde woman in a nail salon saying racist things to a woman who worked at the nail salon. And for some reason, this stranger in California tweeted that that blonde woman was Haley. It looked nothing like her, but she tweeted that. And then other people started sharing it on Facebook. They were even screen grabbing her picture and sharing it. One person on Twitter with a verified account with the word journalist in his bio and with more than 2 million followers retweeted it. Haley was online like crazy saying, "This wasn't me, this wasn't me." She even told Twitter what was happening. And Twitter said it didn't go against their guidelines. Haley was an innocent victim of fake news. And fake news exists because of people like you. Now, I'm not accusing you of doing something like what this woman in California did, but I am accusing you of sharing or commenting or liking something before you really knew it was true or not. That's why you need to use care before you share. And there are 3 ways that you can do this. Today, we are all members of the media. You want more and more content. So the media is creating more and more content, but the staff that they pay, it's not enough. They need more. So they get some contributors. I was one of those contributors to the HuffPost for a while. And I could publish anything without anybody taking a second look at it. I never took advantage of that privilege, but some people did. There was a contributor for Forbes who was illegally accepting money under the table from people who wanted to be mentioned in Forbes. So when you're reading Forbes and you see somebody's in there, you're probably going to think they're credible, they're an authority in their industry, when really they just paid a contributor a few $100 to get in there. So what's traditional? What's real? What's editorial? What's an advertisement? The lines are blurred. There's a lot of shady things happening behind the scenes that many people at the media outlet don't even know about, and especially you as consumers. So that's why you need to use care before you share. You also need to remember that social media is media. So when people are constantly blaming the media for something, they're blaming you. And it's out of control. Our government doesn't know how to regulate it, law enforcement doesn't know. Even the social media outlets themselves don't know how to control what's happening online because millions and millions and millions of people are using these platforms every single day. And if you watch The Real Housewives, you know what I mean. People like the drama and they want to be a part of it. That's why you need to use care before you share. And finally, you control the media. And I'm not talking about social media and what you post on your own platforms. I'm talking about traditional media. When I was in TV, we would come into work and there would be a piece of paper on the wall and it would tell us the ratings from the day before. And 9 times out of 10, when we went from a negative story to a positive story, everybody changed the channel. Even though everybody wants to complain that they don't watch the news because it's so negative, the data shows that's what people are watching. The next time you see a story about a Kardashian or a Jenner, whichever one is your favorite, head.
So that was the video I wanted to share, and I think it gave some good insight of what fake news is and what we can do to prevent it. Um, um, and throughout the video, she talked about care before you share. And I think that's a really important point to make when we look at preventing fake news. Just be careful and fact check. So if you realize a specific website is distributing fake news, you can stop using it, stop giving them your attention, and really overall, you just have to care and become aware to do your own research. Um, and these are the most important points. And that was my recap on fake news. Thank you.